You're so unsure that you're kind of questioning and Googling and calling your mom friends. Some people call this the "is this it" phase, because really that's what it feels like. Hey, I'm Amanda, mom, doula, childbirth educator, and birth nerd. Welcome to Let's Talk Birth, the podcast where we get into real birth stories, talk through the awkward stuff, and cover the things nobody told you about. So grab your raspberry leaf tea, get comfy, and let's talk birth. Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about Labor 101. We'll be discussing what you can expect from that first contraction all the way up until it's time to push. I'll be walking you through each phase of stage 1 labor, early labor, active labor, and transition. And I'll be sharing how things might look different at home versus the hospital versus a birth center. I'll also be giving you comfort tips, position ideas to help bring baby down, and some real life moments from my own births to make it all feel a little less mysterious. So I mentioned stage 1. What does that mean? Well, labor is divided into 3 stages. Stage 1 is what we're covering today. That's everything from the start of the contractions to when your body is fully dilated to about 10 centimeters. Stage 2 is pushing and delivering the baby. And stage 3 is the delivery of the placenta. So today is all about stage 1 and what to expect physically, emotionally, and logistically in each part of that stage. Okay, let's start with early labor. This is when your cervix is slowly starting to thin out, called effacement, and open, called dilation. It can last hours or days. Contractions are usually mild and maybe 30 to 45 seconds long and spaced about 5 to 15 minutes apart. You might feel crampy, have low backaches, or notice your mucus plug coming out. Some people call this the "is this it" phase, because really that's what it feels like. You're so unsure unless your water broke. And even then, you might not know if your water actually broke. You're so unsure that this is actually it that you're kind of questioning and Googling and calling your mom friends. Here's what you need to do when you're hitting this early part of labor. Eat something, take a nap, go for a walk, distract yourself with a show, or hang out with your partner. You don't need to rush to the hospital yet. In fact, honestly, the longer you stay at home, the more likely you are to have a natural hospital birth, which might not be the goal for everyone, but it is for a lot of women I know. Now, here's the thing with my first, and we talked about this a couple episodes ago, I had a lot of prodromal labor. Prodromal labor is often called false labor, like we talked about before. It's more contractions, more consistent contractions. They usually go throughout the day and kind of phase out overnight. Prodromal labor is not technically early labor. There's no real way to talk about it other than it's disappointing and it's annoying and it's exhausting emotionally and physically. So when you first feel the contractions, this could be prodromal labor. The real way to know the difference is prodromal labor will go away after a time. Braxton Hicks contractions, okay, let's back it up. Braxton Hicks contractions are the tightness. They won't really feel painful. They might feel like you got kind of like the wind knocked out of you a little bit. Your stomach will be hard. You might not notice them at all. Everyone experiences them whether you know it or not. Those are practice contractions. It's toning of your uterus. It's getting your body used to and ready for labor. The last thing with Braxton Hicks is when you have those contractions, usually you can get them to go away. You can change your positioning. If you're laying down, try standing up, going for a walk. If you're walking, maybe take a nap. Try taking a shower or eating something, drinking something. A lot of times, Braxton Hicks contractions can actually be caused by dehydration because in general, as Americans, we are very dehydrated all the time. So take this moment right now as you're listening to this and drink some water. So where Braxton Hicks can stop by you doing something to help them stop, you can encourage them to stop. Prodromal labor won't necessarily do that. Usually it'll kind of be consistent over a few hours and then slowly stop. Most of the time it happens overnight where you go to sleep and you're contracting, and when you wake up, you're not contracting anymore. Prodromal labor can feel very intense. I know emotionally it feels very intense. You think that you're in labor for so long that you get exhausted just trying to make it happen. My biggest piece of advice to you if you're experiencing prodromal labor is please ignore it. I've had it with all 3 of my labors so far, and the first one I actually tried so hard to will myself to be fully in labor. I really thought this was it. I'm going to have my baby tonight. And he wasn't born for another 3.5 weeks. With my second and my third, I took a different approach mentally, and when I started experiencing prodromal labor, I just ignored it. I ignored it, pretended it wasn't happening, and went along with my life. That was super helpful because I wasn't in this constant state of, is it happening? Is it happening? Is it happening? I just kind of let it go, which is really hard to say and to experience as a first-time mom especially, but just being pregnant in general, hearing someone say, just let it go. Just ignore it. Just pretend it's not happening. Like, yeah, right. Are you kidding? I want this baby out of me. I want to snuggle my baby. I want to kiss their little cheeks and nibble on their little toes. And I want to stop being so stretched out and sore and achy. And I want this over with. Trust me, I get it. So knowing that you're probably not going to take my advice, at least try to rest while you're going through prodromal labor. Because if it's not actually early labor, it could end up becoming early labor. And you don't want to be tired when you're actually in labor. Now, how do those feel different than early labor contractions? Early labor contractions can feel like a few different things. It could feel like menstrual cramps. It can feel like radiating kind of crampiness, not even tightness, but just intensity in your body. It can wrap around from your back all the way to your stomach. And it's usually going to be kind of lower, kind of like where you would expect menstrual cramps to be. It could come in waves. And I say waves not in the way that you think contractions come, where it's slowly starting and it builds and then it comes down, but even more subtly, early labor can be very subtle. And here's the thing, when you're in early labor, my best piece of advice, and my sister Kirsten will attest to this over and over again, deny that you're in labor. Be in denial. Denial is your best friend. Obviously tell someone, hey, I think I'm having contractions, but that's it. Don't say anything else. Don't think anything else. Just go on with your life. Make sure that you're hydrated. Make sure that you're fed. Make sure that you're upright. Rest. Don't be running a marathon. Don't go on a hike that day. Don't try to induce labor by walking around Target a million times. Speaking from personal experience, you don't want to be exhausted when you're going into labor. So use early labor to rest and get ready because you're about to start this intense marathon. And it is wild and it is amazing and it is exhausting and exhilarating and it is so beautiful. But you need as much energy as possible to go through it, especially if you want it unmedicated. A couple different signs that will show you you're in labor, and these won't all happen at the beginning. It's more, hey, you're in labor, not, hey, you're starting labor. So you might lose your mucus plug, which is what happens when you're starting to dilate. Don't worry, it's okay. If there's a little blood in it, that's awesome. Bloody show just means that you're dilating, and that's totally fine. If there's a lot of blood, that's a different issue, but we're not talking about that right now. You might have diarrhea, you might be nauseous and throw up, but those two don't typically happen until you're closer to active labor, but it totally can happen in early labor. These are just signs that you're in labor. Now, the one that everyone knows is water breaking. And here's the thing, only about 10 to 11% of births actually start with water breaking. Unfortunately, my firstborn was part of that 10 to 11%, which, okay, he had to be special. But I say unfortunately because when your water breaks, your contractions feel more intense. They're not more intense, but they feel more intense because there's not that cushion between your uterus and your baby. There still is some, but it's not the same. Having had 3 babies now, and my water broke right before I started pushing with my second, and my water broke when I started pushing with my third, I will take later water breaking over early water breaking every single time. It was not comfortable. A couple things to note with your water breaking is it does not always look like it does in the movie where it's this big pop and a gush and then suddenly there's a pool of water under you. It can look like that. Doesn't mean it will. You could feel a little pop and you might even internally hear it. You also might not hear it. You might not feel it. There might be a little bit of fluid that comes out. There might be a lot of fluid that comes out. Either way, with each contraction, you will continue to leak fluid. So you're going to want to wear a pad or sit on a towel, something absorbent. So just keep that in mind. Always have a towel in your car, just in case your birth is one of those lucky 10% and your water breaks while you're walking around Whole Foods and you need to sit on a towel on the way home. Overall, the only thing positioning wise you should be doing during early labor is try to keep your knees apart and your feet together. You want to open the upper part of your pelvis as much as possible to let your baby descend as easily as possible. Now, when you're in early labor, that's usually about 0 centimeters all the way to 5 centimeters dilated. When you hit 6, that's active labor. We'll get to that in a minute. The reason why this takes so long is because dilation is only a piece of the puzzle when it comes to getting that baby out of you. Arguably more important is effacement, because if you don't efface, you can't dilate. And effacement, like I said before, means thinning of the cervix. That's where the baby's head starts pushing down, putting enough pressure on your cervix that it starts to thin out, and then it starts to open. Now, it'll thin out and open simultaneously, but the thinning has to happen a lot faster than the opening. So effacement is the thinning. That's when you hear someone say, she was 7 centimeters, 90% effaced. That's what that is 90% effaced means that she's not totally thin where it's like paper thin, but still almost there. Dilation, we've talked about that a little bit. That's also probably the one part that you're most familiar with. It is the opening. You go from 0 centimeters dilated, which is completely closed, sealed off to the world, to 10 centimeters dilated, which technically isn't a measurement of 10 centimeters, but it's where when they feel around your baby's head, they can no longer feel cervix. If you've ever heard someone say that you're a 9.5, or someone was a 9.5, that means that they couldn't feel any cervix around the head except for one part where there's like a lip. So in order to have the baby come down and out, you need to thin, you need to open, and your baby also needs to come down. That is station. Station goes from -3 to -2 to -1 to 0, which is where the top of their head is at the opening of the bottom part of the pelvis. And then +1, +2, +3, baby's out. So there's your cheat sheet. Now you know when someone's giving a cervical exam in labor, if you have them, you know how thin your cervix is, how big it's open, and how far down your baby is. So when you're in labor, when you're in early labor, before you even get to the hospital, the one position that you should keep in mind is to keep your knees apart, to open the top of your pelvis, to let your baby descend. Now, during labor, when you officially know my contractions have been very consistent and I've been timing them and they're consistent and I know that this is labor, they're getting more intense, I think I might want to go in. There are some comfort measures you can try at home before you even get to the hospital. Just note, when I say leave to go to the hospital, I also mean leave to go to the birth center or have your midwife come over to your house if you're having a home birth. So some of the things that you can do is moan. Moaning, doing a low kind of a sound, like a moo almost. Moo is a really good one, actually. Moo, like you can't, no cow goes moo, and it's even hard to moo. Like when you say, this is so silly, when you say the word moo, you have to say it low. That is super helpful for your body. Basically, and I'm not going to get too far into it, but low ooh, oh sounds are very good for your body to relax because it's really hard to be tense in your jaw when you're moo, you know? When you're tense in your jaw, you're tense in your pelvic floor. When you're relaxed in your jaw, you're relaxed in your pelvic floor. Other things that you can do during early labor, and this all applies to active labor and transition as well, but you can do all of these things from home. Hip squeezes, using a TENS unit, taking a shower or taking a bath, not too hot. You don't want to get your body too hot, but water is so helpful for your body to process pain and move through it and get through it. Rocking or leaning over a birth ball, bouncing on it, doing hip circles or figure eights, that can be really helpful. Touch or massage, visualizations, affirmations, breathing. Breathing is so helpful for a lot of people. All of those things are just a few of the comfort measures that can be helpful. Okay, so now let's talk about active labor. This is where things get a little more real. Your contractions are stronger, closer together, and last longer. And like I said, your cervix is about 6 centimeters dilated. Most women can't talk through contractions at this point. You might feel the need to focus, breathe, moan, like I said. Right now, this is the time to really go inward and focus on getting through each contraction one at a time. At this point, if you're planning on not having a home birth, you probably would want to start getting ready to leave. And if you are having a home birth, make sure to maybe dim the lights, play some music, try to eat something, drink water, just kind of exist in your space. At a hospital or birth center, it might be a little hard to do all of that unless you intentionally create your space. That means bringing your own pillow, labor playlist, maybe some battery candles or battery-powered fairy lights, whatever makes you feel safe. Remember this, safety and calm means oxytocin, and oxytocin means progress. Something else to note is make sure that you only have people there in the room with you, in your home with you, people who make you feel safe. And more so, not even just safe, but feel like you're not performing for them or that you don't owe them anything in this labor, that you want them there because you want them there, not because you think they deserve to be there. Because if you're surrounding yourself with people who you feel like you owe them something in your labor, you are setting yourself up for a hard labor. From personal experience with my firstborn, I didn't progress for hours because I had so many people that I wanted to invite and I felt like I had to perform and I owed this to them and that I did really want them there, but I felt like having them there would make me feel even more pressured to perform. It wasn't until my husband suggested uninviting people that things really started to pick up and I really started to progress. So I mentioned that during early labor, you should have your knees apart and your feet together. Well, during active labor, your baby is descending even further down into your pelvis. What you really want to do is keep your knees asymmetrical. So no matter what position you're trying out, no matter what you're doing, try to keep your legs in different positions. So instead of kneeling down, do a lunge. Have one leg up, one leg down. Have one leg going forward and the other leg perpendicular, pointing off to your left or right side. And make sure to switch which leg is doing what. When you do that, that is moving your pelvis in a way that can get your baby down further a lot easier. So by the time you get to the birth center or the hospital, while you're in active labor, there are some things that they have available most of the time that you don't have at home. I know some birth centers have nitrous oxide or laughing gas. That is a pharmaceutical option if you choose to use it. All you do is breathe into the mask while it's pumping the air during the contractions and then stop breathing it in when you're not contracting, and it takes the edge off for sure. Hospitals also have laughing gas. Some things that hospitals have that birth centers don't have are IV pain medication, like fentanyl or morphine. Some hospitals have tubs you can get in, but most have showers. And birth centers also most of the time have a tub that you can get in if you want some pain relief that way. And the one big thing that hospitals have that no birth center has are epidurals. So one quick thing I want to tell you about epidurals are people say it's this really big needle when really the only thing that you will feel, yes, it's a big needle, but you won't really feel it. What happens is they give you a shot of typically lidocaine into your back. Then they take the long needle and insert a catheter using it into your back. Then the catheter, which is just this little rubber tube, is what stays in your back. It gets taped on really good. It shouldn't move at all. And that's what you should expect. The most painful part that I've seen women experience with having epidurals and getting the epidural is having to stay still during contractions. Because what you have to do is you have to stay still and lean over so they can get it in the right spot. And that can last through a contraction or two. Okay, now we're at 8 centimeters. We're officially in transition. Transition is intense, but it's also short. It's the final stretch of stage 1. This is where you're going from 8 centimeters to 10 centimeters dilated. The contractions are powerful, back to back, and often feel overwhelming. You might get shaky, hot, cold, nauseous, or even feel like giving up, which is actually a sign that you're almost there. This is where you're deep in labor land. No small talk, no walking, no talking, nothing through contractions other than just existing. When you see women in labor during movies where they're freaking out and they're saying they can't do this and all of that, that is typically what it looks like, this transition. Now, 8 to 10 centimeters, that's still 2 centimeters, right? You have to stretch for 2 centimeters. Well, here's the thing is usually you're almost completely effaced, and it is so much quicker going from 8 to 10 centimeters. Heck, it's quicker going from 6 to 10 centimeters than it is from 1 to 6. So just know when you hit that point, when you think, I can't do this anymore, you're almost there. When you're in transition, a few things that you should really try to do is stay in the zone. Don't fight it, just ride the waves of the contractions. Try using moaning or breath work to soften your body, to relax your muscles, to really release your pelvic floor. Make sure to try to keep changing positions to keep the labor moving. Reassure yourself or have someone remind you, this means it's working. You've got this. So much like how in early labor you keep your knees apart, feet together, and in active labor you are doing asymmetrical movements, with transition you want to keep your knees together and your feet apart. This opens up the base of your pelvis and lets your baby descend even further down. Now, some of the things that you can do at home is move around as needed. Of course, labor on the toilet is actually a great place to labor. Now, don't push on the toilet, but laboring on the toilet is amazing. In the tub or even on your hands and knees. In the hospital, the staff might monitor you more closely, and that's okay. Just ask for them to space out the monitoring if possible, or request freedom to move around between checks. Remember that hospital policies are rules for the hospital, they're not rules for you. And with a birthing center, it's going to be a lot easier to adapt in the same way that you would at home, but just know that you're only going to really be able to be in your own room. Now, in our last episode, the Q&A episode with Kirsten, we talked about when to go to the hospital. So I'm going to touch on that really quick, but we're not going to linger too long. The general rule of thumb is the 5-1-1 guideline. Contractions are 5 minutes apart, 1 minute long, and that pattern has lasted for at least 1 hour, and they feel strong. But also tune into your behavior and the intensity of the contractions. If your contractions are not getting more intense and they're just staying at this mid-level, even though they're 5 minutes apart and 1 minute long, you might not be ready yet. However, if you can't talk or walk through contractions anymore, it might be time. Now, for second or third babies, you might want to go in earlier because labor often goes a lot faster for those babies. And like I said in the last episode, if your water breaks, especially if you're GBS positive, or if you notice anything unusual like green or bloody fluid, that's another time to check in. At least call your hospital and see what they say to do. Now, don't forget, labor isn't just physical, it's emotional and mental too. Your job in stage 1 is to stay present, stay relaxed. I know how impossible that sounds, but trust me, try to relax your body as much as possible and stay open. Both physically let your body open up, but also open up to the possibility of plans changing and needing to transfer to the hospital or deciding, you know what, that epidural sounds really good right about now. Be intuitive to what you feel is best in that moment and adapt your prior knowledge and research to your intuition to try to make decisions as things are happening. Try not to control every step, but instead remember to listen to your body and move when it tells you to move, rest when you can, and trust that you're doing the work that only you can do. So that's it for stage 1. In the next episode, we're going to talk about stage 2, pushing the ring of fire, delivering your baby, plus stage 3, which is delivering the placenta and why talking about it matters. So if you want to make sure you don't miss it, go sign up for email notifications. The link is in the show notes. That way, every time a new episode drops, it'll come straight to your inbox. And if this episode helped you feel even slightly more confident about labor, share it with a friend or leave a quick review. Doing that helps spread the word, and it helps more first-time moms find this show. All right, that's it for today. I'll see you next time on Let's Talk Birth.